What's good? What's good, everyone? Happy Monday evening. We are checking in on the Cops and Convicts podcast. I am Sean Shepard, your host. We are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. Please subscribe to those respective platforms. Hit that notification bell. Hit that thumbs up button. I'm trying to be happy on a Monday night. Trying to be happy. Trying to be happy because I am a New York sports fan and my teams are just taking L's left and right. The Jets embarrassed themselves yet again yesterday. The Knicks lost tonight at home against the Cleveland Cavaliers. Cleveland's going to be tough. Cleveland, their D was something tonight. They neutralized Karl-Anthony Towns. They kept Jalen Brunson at bay. Karl-Anthony Towns took 8 shots tonight, bro, in 32 minutes of play. Cam Payne, guard off the bench, played 10 minutes. He got up 7 shots. And the Yankees, I don't want to talk about the Yankees. Anyway, I wanted to talk about guns and gun culture tonight. Hang on. Where's my phone? Give me a second. Where's my phone at? Where's my phone? I want to make sure that my phone does not disturb our time together tonight. All right. I want to talk about guns. I don't know about you, but I have been fascinated by how gun crazy this country is, and one specific demographic in particular. And I only say that because I went back and did my research on the history of gun culture in this country. And I want to get this out of the way. I'm a gun owner. I use it for home protection. I've been, what's the word I want to use? I've been encouraged by members of law enforcement to go get my concealed carry permit here in the county of Los Angeles. I haven't done it yet. I might. I probably will. So I'm all for the right to bear arms, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I do want to talk about gun culture and take you all through a little bit of a history lesson. And then talk about how law enforcement feels about guns in our society. So let me take you all the way back. I'm going to take you back to 1739. So what's the math on that? 1739. I use technology. It is 2024. Minus 1739. So we're talking 505 years. I would say that that's more than enough time to establish a culture inside of a country. Did I do that right? No. I'm sorry. Okay, not 22, 24. Okay, it's 285 years. My bad. Still, 285 years is a long time to set precedent and get people into a mindset of living a certain way. I want to take you through what the Security Act of 1739 is and was. It was a law passed in South Carolina. It was a colony. And it required all white men to carry firearms to church on Sundays. It was enacted in response to growing fears of slave rebellions. Hang on, let me get this out. Let me see if I can make this big by itself. Yeah. Okay. It was enacted in response to growing fears of slave rebellions, particularly in the wake of minor uprisings and the prospect of Spanish-backed slave escape to Florida. It is considered a key contributing factor to the Stono slave rebellion that occurred later that year. Some key points about the Security Act. The purpose was to deter slave rebellions by ensuring white men were always armed, especially on Sundays, which is the day that slaves had off from work. Because we were a Christian nation, the slave owners were kind enough to give the slaves one day off, and they had a little bit more freedom of movement that day. So on Sundays, white men were required to carry guns to church. Provisions: all white males were mandated to carry guns to church services on Sundays. This act was passed amidst the heightened tensions between Britain and Spain, with Spanish Florida offering refuge to runaway slaves. I don't know if you knew that. They were trying to get runaway slaves to go to Florida, give them their freedom, and have them fight on their behalf. So, a little bit of a history lesson. The act is seen as a major factor in escalating tensions between white colonists and enslaved people, ultimately contributing to the Stonewall Rebellion. So, if anybody asks you if you have any idea where this gun-crazed nation began, where this obsession with guns began, you can direct them to go Google the Security Act of 1739. And you'll say, well, how do you know that to be true? Well, let me show you how I know it to be true. I'm just putting together a logical timeline. Because in 1791, not too long after the Security Act of 1739, the Second Amendment was passed. Do you think that that's a coincidence? So let's read exactly what the Second Amendment is. The Second Amendment to the Constitution of the United States protects Americans to bear arms. And it reads as follows. The original text of the Second Amendment is a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Shall not be infringed. Well regulated means that it's regulated. Regulations means that there are parameters, there are rules. You just can't have any gun that you feel you deserve to have, or you feel that it's your right to have. And if you look, let's look further at the terms of the Second Amendment. It was ratified on December 15th, 1791, along with 9 other articles of the Bill of Rights. The Second Amendment protects the right to possess weapons for self-protection, protection of rights, and protection of property. I told you, I'm a gun owner. I have my gun to keep me safe here at home in case of a home invasion. God forbid that happens. But there's an exception. You see that? Second Amendment does not protect weapons that are dangerous and unusual, or that mostly used by those who intend to do harm unlawfully. For example, the Supreme Court has ruled that machine guns can be banned. Machine guns can be banned. So for those people who think that shall not be infringed, the Supreme Court has already infringed. Can't have a machine gun. So where does that leave us? Well, over the past 8 years of spending all this time with members of law enforcement, they have shared with us that they believe less guns in our society makes their jobs safer. Less guns in our society, makes their jobs safer. Now, I know some people feel a certain way about that, and I can understand you saying, well, I don't want the government to be armed and I'm not armed. Saying that. I'm just telling you what members of law enforcement across the board have said about guns out in the streets while they're doing their jobs. You can do with that what you will. So I want to introduce you to the Major City Chiefs Association. And full disclosure, we have a formal partnership with the Major City Chiefs Association, and that partnership consists of them assisting us with getting law enforcement agencies to participate in Game Changer. If you're not aware of what Game Changer is, it is our nonprofit program. It is the premier law enforcement community relations model in the country. We are accredited by the state of California. We are a training tool for law enforcement. For example, the California Commission on Peace Officer Standards and Training, which is the California state training body for law enforcement, we have a course registered with them called Community Engagement and Building Trust. Okay, so that's where I get all of our exposure to law enforcement. And the Major City Chiefs Association is comprised of 70 of the largest law enforcement agencies in this country and 9 in Canada. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at them. The Major City Chiefs Association is made up of 79 chiefs, commissioners, and sheriffs from the largest cities in the United States and Canada. And as you can see, 70 of the largest law enforcement agencies in this country and 9 in Canada. It is a professional organization that provides a forum for law enforcement executives to share ideas, experiences, and strategies. Their mission is to address policing challenges and issues, influence national and international policy that affects police services, which is guns. Guns are one of them, and develop current and future police leaders. So that's the Major City Chiefs Association. Let's take a look at their stance on gun reform. So in 2019, the Major City Chiefs Association wrote a letter to the Honorable Lindsey Graham. I think a lot of you have heard that name. You know what? Coincidentally enough, he's the senator from South Carolina, where all this gun stuff started. That just dawned on me. Isn't that funny? So if you look at this document, I don't know how I can make this larger, but this is the letter that they wrote in 2019. I'm going to do my best to read this with my glasses on. It's the second paragraph. We offer for your consideration the following solution outlined in the attached MCCA firearms violence policy endorsed by the police chiefs of the 69 largest cities in America. So they've added one since 2019. These are the reforms that they endorse. This is what they want Congress to do. They want universal background checks for all gun sales and transfers. This is the police. They want expanded screening for prohibited buyers to include persons with violent mental health history. They want red flag / extreme risk measures to prevent guns from reaching persons who threaten and murder. And lastly, they want legislation that permits court orders barring gun purchases in domestic violence cases. That's what the police want. Remember, a well-regulated militia, the police want some more regulations on who can own guns. Now, you'll notice that they did not say anything about an assault weapons ban. They didn't say any of that stuff. I just read to you what type of reform measures that they would like Congress to enact. And so far, that has not happened. The last time we had an assault weapons ban was under President Clinton back in the 90s. So I want to know how you feel about how law enforcement feels about guns. I want to know what you think about where gun culture started in this country. It started out of fear. It started out of fear. It started back in 1739 when the Security Act of 1739 was passed in South Carolina out of fear of a slave rebellion. So, 285 years ago, they enact the Security Act of 1739, which mandated all white males to carry guns to church services on Sundays. And then in 1791, Second Amendment was born. I'm just here to educate and share the facts with you. How you feel about those facts, I'm very, very interested in hearing, but I wanted to give a quick history on gun culture in our country and how cops feel about guns in our society and what measures of reform that they want implemented by Congress. I personally feel that there should be some gun reform in this country based on the ridiculous amount of gun violence that exists in our country. To say that more guns, which are used to end the lives of people, make us a safer society, well, you're seeing that it doesn't. It doesn't. I'm all for people owning guns for home protection. If you have a concealed carry permit legally, okay, but we've seen in states that have open carry, very lax gun rules, the gun death rate is continuing to rise in those states. Every time somebody gets in an argument, it's like stand your ground, and you're pulling out a gun. I just don't think that makes us safer. It makes us more violent. The purpose of Game Changer from day one was to mitigate violence and gun violence between law enforcement and community residents. But I'm here to tell you, I'm all for mitigating gun violence across the board in our country. So, share your thoughts, whether you agree, disagree with me, think I'm crazy. It's all good. I'm going to be back here tomorrow night, regardless of how you feel. I'm going to be back here, regardless of how you feel. But all of your opinions are welcome. All of your opinions are welcome. So tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Pacific time, I will be interviewing former inmate Anthony Logan on the Cops and Convicts podcast. You won't want to miss that. And then on Wednesday night at 6 p.m. Pacific time, I will be interviewing former inmate Vance Harris. Two good guys, paid their debt to society, but you'll want to hear their stories. You will definitely want to hear their stories. That wraps up another little installment of our evening live stream of Cops and Convicts. Gun Culture Edition. Pray for me, y'all. I need my teams to win one game this week. Appreciate y'all tapping in. Peace.